Everyone is speaking out about this. Recently, an insider sparked absolutely crazy trade rumors about the New York Islanders star goaltender, and fans were not happy about this, and even the goaltender's agent spoke out about these comments. We're going to break it all down on this episode of Islanders Digest, not about why it makes zero sense at all for the Islanders to trade Ilya Sorokin. Before we get into that, we noticed that subscribe to the channel, so if or hit subscribe, it's free. Now let's get right into talking about Ilya Sorokin, and it makes no sense for the Islanders to trade Sorokin at all, in my opinion. I have been very adamant, really, since Ilya Sorokin first started on the Islanders, that he is one of the key parts of this franchise, and they need to keep him as long as they possibly can. And for the record, I know a lot of fans are critical of Ilya Sorokin recently. I'm going to argue later on in this video, I think Sorokin has been a lot better in the past few seasons than fans are giving him credit for, but recently there have been trade rumors around Ilya Sorokin, as Frank Seravalli has speculated that he thought that the Islanders were considering trading Ilya Sorokin, and said there were conversations around Sorokin's name. This comment was in particular kind of focusing on this whole thing with Utah, where the Islanders were trying to trade up for the 4th overall pick, and people were speculating that Ilya Sorokin was one of the names involved with that. And then from here, Edmonton Oilers fans, because the Edmonton Oilers desperately need a goaltender, which is one of the reasons why I feel like Ilya Sorokin does not get enough credit on the New York Islanders. It's almost to the point where fans are just used to good goaltending, but when you see teams who don't have it, really quickly, those fans were so excited, talking about potential that the Edmonton Oilers could trade for Ilya Sorokin. Almost every team who needs a goalie was excited to hear Ilya Sorokin's name. It was clarified really quickly that Ilya Sorokin is not on the trade block. His agent clarified here that Ilya Sorokin has a no trade clause, which means they know that he has not been involved with any trade discussions. All these rumors about Ilya Sorokin's name being in conversations, while it is possible that Utah perhaps asked for Ilya Sorokin for the 4th overall pick, it's very clear the Islanders were not interested. They said no. And when you think about where Mathew Barzal is coming from, the Tampa Bay Lightning, a team with a franchise goaltender, it makes a lot of sense that he would value his franchise goaltender in Ilya Sorokin, and that is what Ilya Sorokin is. He is a franchise goaltender. There have been points where he has not played at his A game. I'm not going to argue that he always plays the best game, but if you look at his track record over the last few seasons, he's been one of the best goaltenders consistently in the NHL, and frankly, if he was on a team other than the Islanders, I think he would get even more attention, as I think without Sorokin, the Islanders would not be relevant in any of these recent seasons. Really, he has carried this team for a decent bit now, and it's good to know from his agent that Ilya Sorokin does not want to go anywhere. He loves playing in New York. Normally, I actually don't love when agents get involved with these speculations. I prefer when they stay out of things, because it can get messy really quickly. But in this case, I actually appreciate Sorokin's agent clarifying that this is all false and that Ilya Sorokin has not been involved in trade rumors. It definitely eases fans' concerns, because I truly think without Ilya Sorokin next season, the Islanders would be an absolute disaster. I know Edmonton Oilers fans were like, what if we add a package where Skinner is involved going back to the Islanders? I don't even want to think about what Islanders hockey would look like with Stuart Skinner in the net. Ilya Sorokin is just such a valuable piece. And for fans who are arguing that the Islanders should trade Sorokin and go more a rebuild direction, I'm going to counter this right now, just talking about why I think it's so important the Islanders do not trade Sorokin, and talking about why he's so important to this franchise. Ilya Sorokin is one of the rare goaltenders in the NHL who can play starter consistently and give you high level production. And a lot of people will point out in the past 2 years, Ilya Sorokin has taken a step back in terms of production. And my first argument there would be, just look at the Islanders team that has been playing around Ilya Sorokin in recent years. It has not been the same quality of defense that they had when they were actually going on those cup runs. And even then, you look at Ilya Sorokin's last 2 seasons net, he had a .909 save percentage in 56 games, and then a .907 in 61 games. That was well above league average, and something you have to consider when you talk about Ilya Sorokin, goaltending statistics have taken a jump off a cliff in recent seasons in the NHL. There are several teams last season that had goaltending below the 900 ranking. And for Ilya Sorokin to play at a 907 rate at the Islanders while also playing 61 games on a team where, let's be real, the penalty kill was not great. The defense really was not as great as it's been in previous seasons. Ilya Sorokin consistently has to keep a team that does not score a lot in every single game, and he's done a great job at that. And I really have no doubt that in the future he's going to get back closer to his 920 form. You look at his NHL career, he is a 917 goaltender. We talk about how this year a lot of teams had goaltending below the 900, or at least a few teams had goaltending below the 900s. Ilya Sorokin's closest number to that has been 907. His worst season in the NHL is a 907 save percentage. Those are numbers that you can win with. Ilya Sorokin is so important to this team. And when we talk about the Islanders having a small chance at making the playoffs next season, partially due to some of the moves Darsh made, really shoring up this offense while keeping the defense, while it didn't improve, keeping it serviceable. All of this really factors around Ilya Sorokin having a Vezina caliber season. That is what it's going to take for the Islanders to make the playoffs. He is the core of this team, or he's a huge part of that core, and he's only 29 years old. And something to keep in mind when it comes to Ilya Sorokin is he's a goaltender. Goaltenders age a lot more gracefully than players typically do. So at age 29, you got to expect that Ilya Sorokin has a lot more hockey in the tank, assuming he stays healthy, which I hope he continues to stay healthy. Keep in mind, last season, he was actually coming off a back surgery, so he really couldn't even train all summer, and yet he still put up a 907 save percentage. When you compare that to goaltenders such as Jeremy Swayman, who held out for a contract extension, and because they didn't play all preseason, he had a real rough year compared to Ilya Sorokin. That makes it even more impressive what he was able to do for the New York Islanders. He's going to continue to be an instrumental piece of this core. And what's really interesting about Sroken, too, is this contract he signed, I think, is also going to age really well. And it's something people don't talk about enough. And sometimes people complain that he is overpaid. Look, the salary cap just went up a lot. We're seeing now Igor Shesterkin making $11.25 million. And some goaltenders are going to get even crazier deals. As with that cap going up, that really makes the value of this contract that Ilya Sorokin signed even more valuable. I really think he's worth every penny of $8.25 million. When you have Ilya Sorokin as your starter, you know you're going to have solid goaltending for the majority of a season. It's not like some of these other goaltenders where you're going to have to hire a 1B to make sure they are able to play. Realistically, the Islanders are likely going to have to figure out a better solution when it comes to backup goaltending. Varlamov, at the very least, is going to have to be more healthy. But with Sorokin in the net, you know, for 60 or so games, you're going to have the chance to win 60 games. And if Varlamov can come back to hopefully playing somewhere where he was in the past, then the Islanders' goaltending is set. It's not the cheapest goaltending tandem in the league, but I think it's clear that most teams in the league would really trade a ton to get Ilya Sorokin, and I think the Islanders even entertaining any of those offers would be a mistake. Let me know in the comments what you think about Ilya Sorokin. Do you think there's a price that you would consider trading him to another organization? For me, especially considering where the Islanders are, I think that's really important to think about. The Islanders are not in a rebuild mode. Even though they picked first overall last year, I think this is a core that is going to compete as soon as it's not. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs next year, but within the next 2 or 3 years, I think this is a team that's going to be trying to take advantage of entry-level contracts to really compete for the cup. And if you look at that window, Ilya Sorokin is still going to be in his prime for that window. And because of that, it makes absolutely no sense to trade him, especially considering how long it took the Islanders to get a goaltender of this caliber. People forget when you have several seasons of good goaltending what it was like before you had Ilya Sorokin. And even in the ages where they had Yaroslav Halak, Robin Leonard, none of that has compared to the consistency that Ilya Sorokin brings every single season. Because of that, I refuse to believe any trade rumors revolving Ilya Sorokin, because in my opinion, it makes absolutely no sense for the Islanders to move on from this player. But I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. My name is Patrick Nilan. Catch you on the next episode of Islanders Digest. Let's go, Islanders.